A CTV News Update brought to you by General Motors of Canada. Here is Peter Murphy.
Good evening. German Chancellor Helmut Kohl warned today Quebec's separation could hurt Canada economically. Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines is much quieter now with only minor eruptions. Despite that, Filipinos continue to flee. And why are more Canadians dying from asthma? George Wolfe will have a special focus report later on the CTV News. Back after this.
But I need to pre-roll first.
Rolling and action. Here we go.
How fast we want you to go, you're testing your car. Whatever you need to do to get an impression.
You ready, Chris?
Going through the bridge now.
Approaching pilot. We're going to approach them at 90 kilometers an hour. You're allowed to do whatever you want. This is your test day. Yeah.
Oh, it's blue, it's not red.
We'll have more news later on the CTV News.
The bottom line is that I trust Sears. They've got selection and the kind of quality I can count on. And their deferred payment plan fits into my lifestyle, with no payments or credit charges until this October. Believe me, that helps.
Live my life to see ways may come easy, may go a long way. Don't tell me the way to go. I can take it fast or I can take it slow. I can take it fast, I can take it slow. I can make it last, I can make it go.
Enjoy extra sugar-free gum.
You get extra flavor, extra fun in extra sugar-free gum.
The long-lasting sugar-free gum is extra with NutraSweet for extra refreshing flavor that lasts an extra, extra, extra long time.
Extra flavor for that extra long flight. Extra flavor for that extra long night. And you chew it extra. The extra fresh flavor lasts an extra, extra, extra long time.
Extra lasts extra long.
Bottom line is that I trust Sears. They've got selection and the kind of quality I can count on. And their deferred payment plan fits into my lifestyle, with no payments or credit charges until this October. Believe me, that helps.
Have you heard the latest? A&W has just introduced a breakthrough in fries. They're cholesterol-free, and they're low in saturates, too. Try them. They're more delicious than ever. Wow. See? Good news travels fast.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's handling fabulously. I'm slipping too in your part of the car. That felt great. Oh, it handles a heck of a lot better than mine. I want to do this again. Let's get back in. Come on.
I honestly haven't seen this before. Just listen to that. The engine just picks up on demand. Nice and throaty. Oh, let's go. It drives better than it looks, and it looks fantastic.
This is CTV.
Anyway, where'd you get Amos? You got any change? Hi. Yeah, I have some change here. Hi. But anyway, about Amos. Amos was a mooch. A mooch? Like you. Yeah, like you. Oh, I'm a mooch. Yeah. Anything else nice to say, man? Well, I can't really think of anything nice to say about you or about me. Look over there. I don't see anything. Oh, I guess you must have left out. You know, I thought I saw something. Anyway. So what about this Amos guy?
You don't have to be sweet to be good.
Wake up, hey Canada, wake up. Today is on McCain Day.
What's the secret of McCain's rich-tasting juice? More oranges. McCain concentrates the juice of more oranges into every can. More than Minute Maid, more than Oat South. So you have a special reason to buy McCain.
You bet I do.
It's like an extra squeeze of juice in every glass. So compared to Minute Maid and Oat South, you have an extra reason to drink McCain.
You bet I do.
Wake up to McCain.
Presenting this week's great news from Sears. Starring our best-selling weather beater deck and siding stain. Your choice now half price at Sears, where you get your money's worth and more.
The Angelini family knows a lot about taste. As Mama says, make it right, and the taste will be there. Mama uses a special blend of cheeses, spicy pepperoni, smoked bacon, and of course, Italian sausage. But there's a secret.
Thank you.
Enjoy your pizza. Italian Lovers Pizza, only $12.99.
Pizza Delight delivers it good.
Presenting this week's great news from Sears. Starring our best-selling weather beater deck and siding stain. Your choice now half price at Sears, where you get your money's worth and more.
Hi, I'm Don Chevrier. Play ball Wednesday on ATV, your Atlantic baseball station.
In tonight's news, consensus in Germany. Mulroney and Kohl back aid for Gorbachev.
And we believe that he has already established many of the bona fides required and that he should be helped.
Mulroney also finds a common vision for Quebec. Asthma attacks on the rise.
Sometimes you get scared because you can't breathe very well and it seems like something's going to happen.
A focus report on a respiratory ailment that's becoming more deadly and more baffling. And touchdown in Tiananmen Square.
It's kind of like being at Disneyland. It's like a ride. It's not really real.
American football on a Chinese playing field.
CTV News with Peter Murphy.
Good evening. Prime Minister Mulroney returned home from Germany tonight with new support in his fight to keep Canada together. And it came from the political leader responsible for German unification. Chancellor Helmut Kohl said the idea of Quebec separation is incomprehensible to people outside of Canada. And he warned that a divided Canada would suffer economically. Kohl made his comments as Mulroney ended his 4-day visit to Germany. The two leaders also agreed on an important international issue. They said they would support Western countries giving financial help to the Soviet Union. That issue will be high on the agenda at next month's economic summit in London. CTV's Roger Smith reports on the Prime Minister's Day.
Helmut Kohl gave up his usual day off to take the Prime Minister to Mass at Speye's medieval cathedral. And then he took Mulroney on a tour that looked at times like an election campaign. In Kohl's hometown, the welcome was warmer than what Mulroney sometimes gets at home, though a few protesters urged an end to Canadian training flights in Germany now that the Cold War is over.
The situation is totally different, so there's no need for flying any longer.
On aid to the Soviet Union, Kohl warned that some countries risk losing an historic opportunity by setting too many preconditions.
Aber ich verstehe nicht Zeitgenossen.
But I don't understand my contemporaries who pretend in this dramatic hour that they could lean back in their chair and let's wait and see what happens.
Mulroney said that while the West must ask for guarantees of real Soviet reform, Gorbachev is sending the right signals.
And we believe that he has already established many of the bona fides required and that he should be helped.
On Canada's problems, Kohl said the world can't understand why Canada threatens to tear itself apart when Germany and Europe are counting the benefits of unity. Their talks concluded with a visit to Kohl's private home, a rare invitation that Canadian officials said illustrates their personal friendship and political alliance.
Thank you, Helmut.
Gorbachev is unlikely to walk away empty-handed from the economic summit, but how much and what kind of aid he gets will depend largely on whether the United States, Japan, and Britain can be swayed from their more cautious position. Roger Smith, CTV News, Augersheim.
A week ago in the Philippines, thousands of people were casually evacuating the area around Mount Pinatubo as a precautionary measure. Tonight, 100,000 are fleeing for their lives to escape the storm and devastation caused by the erupting volcano. And the death toll is mounting, one by one, with at least 76 now dead. Most have been crushed in houses collapsing under the weight of volcanic ash. Here with a report now from Manila is Nathan Thomas.
They fled the erupting mountain any way they could. They had spent an entire day in darkness with volcanic ash pouring down like a snowy blizzard. Thunder roared like gunfire, and earthquakes shook the ground. So people grabbed what they could and tried to make their way to safety. For many, all they could do was walk. They had no idea where they were going. They just wanted to get away. It wasn't until daylight came on Sunday that they could see the damage. Bridges out, buildings collapsed from the weight of the ash. Even Manila, more than 50 miles from the mountain, had been dusted by the eruptions. The international airport closed. By daylight, the scientists also began to say that perhaps the mountain had done its worst. But that didn't stop an estimated 100,000 refugees from heading for the capital, nor did it stop the U.S. military from beginning to evacuate more than 20,000 dependents. Not only evacuees from Clark Air Base, but also dependents living at Subic Bay Navy Base will go by ship to the island of Cebu, where they will be put on charter planes back to the United States. With getting to safety still the main concern, people have just begun to estimate the damage. But with continuing eruptions, earthquakes, and floods, it's not surprising that some here feel lost and abandoned. Nathan Thomas for CTV News, Manila.
While Pinatubo has captured our attention, Mount Unzen in southern Japan has grown ever more threatening. And grow is the word. A lava dome in the crater has risen 20 meters today alone. 39 people were killed when the volcano suddenly blew its top 2 weeks ago. 15,000 people died in the last major eruption 200 years ago. The Soviet Republic of Georgia was struck by an earthquake this weekend. It was apparently an aftershock from the quake that devastated the region less than 2 months ago. At least 6 people were killed and 9 villages heavily damaged by the latest quake. Many of the villages were just beginning to recover from the earthquake that ravaged the area in April. More than 100 people were killed in that disaster. Coming up in our report tonight, an AIDS epidemic in Zaire. No medicine, no supplies, and very little hope. But first, train massacres in India. Sikh militants staged their bloodiest attack yet to sabotage elections in the Punjab.
When you think of a peat-free and fruit cream, shortcake, delectable, digestive, or assorted creams, surely there's one to pique your interest.
We loved the house, but the backyard needed a lot of help.
We didn't know where to start.
They had great plans. They just needed some good advice. We didn't know anything. They needed the soil, fertilizer, and some good tools to do the job. So we went to Home Hardware.
It took some work.
It was worth it. No, it was definitely worth it. They should be proud.
We were very proud. This isn't what you call a green thumb.
We're all proud.
Rich chocolate cream, delicate French vanilla, fruit jelly with vanilla cream. Why not take a peek?
In the Punjab, the count of dead from yesterday's massacres on 2 passenger trains has reached 126, according to Indian authorities. Sikh militants are being blamed for the violent attacks. They apparently hope to stop the state elections in the Punjab and have already succeeded in delaying it a week. Brian Barron of the BBC reports.
It began as a routine journey for weekend passengers. An old, unimportant train heading, like dozens of others, across the Punjab. But 12 miles west of its destination, Ludhiana, there was mass murder most foul. Today, the bodies of 45 passengers shot dead by Sikh separatists lay at Badawal station. Desperate people prowled among the corpses trying to find missing relatives. In searing heat, 30 more bodies lay at another station 12 miles away, victims of a similar massacre on an identical train. Among those murdered were 9 unarmed soldiers. Bullet holes from the Sikh separatist automatic weapons riddled the trains. They walked from carriage to carriage, leaving carnage behind them. The massacres took place on one of the holiest dates in the Sikh calendar, the day of martyrdom. 25 passengers were wounded. The terrorist motive was to force the cancellation of next Saturday's election in the Punjab. But there was no break in campaigning at Ludhiana today, despite the train massacres. With 23 election candidates so far assassinated, bodyguards abound. Punjab today is murderously factionalized and under the gun. The election process, teetering on the edge of tragic farce, seems more dead than alive. Brian Barron, BBC News, the Punjab.
They're still counting ballots by the tens of millions in the Indian national election, and it seems the Congress party did benefit from a sympathy vote following the assassination of its leader, Rajiv Gandhi. Results tabulated by Indian television indicate the Congress party is now the only party strong enough to form a government, though it will probably fall well short of a majority. Aside from finding coalition partners, the party must now find a leader to take the job of prime minister. That post would have gone to Gandhi had he lived. In South Africa, rallies were held in black communities today to remember one of the most important events in the battle against apartheid. 15 years ago, police violently suppressed an uprising in the black township of Soweto, and more than 600 people were killed. Today, there were marches across the country and a big rally in the Soweto Stadium. Nelson Mandela of the African National Congress said the massacre signaled the death knell of apartheid. Mandela said his supporters will take to the streets unless the government quickly changes the constitution to give blacks more power. The 7th International Conference on AIDS opened today in Florence, Italy, and for the second straight year, AIDS activists threatened to disrupt the event. Inside the conference hall, there was a green argument over the release of drugs to fight AIDS without proper clinical trials. Outside, 700 activists marched to demand immediate treatment for AIDS patients with whatever drugs are available.
You have to make noise to be heard. If you don't make noise, they'll leave you there to die. And I refuse to lay down and die.
The results of early testing of 2 new vaccines will be presented to the conference. Tests on one have been conducted in Montreal. Both vaccines will undergo further extensive trials. The World Health Organization says that 30 million adults will be infected with AIDS by the end of the decade. So will 10 million children. Most of these cases will be in developing countries. And for struggling nations trying to fight AIDS and care for its victims is a battle they cannot win alone. The African nation of Zaire is an example. Jim Bitterman of ABC News reports.
No one prays like those who may die. And when those suffering from AIDS gather for church services in Zaire, the air beats with their pleas. But there is, on Earth, little response. The hospitals like Mama Yemu, the biggest in Kinshasa, are filled with hopeless cases. In this ward alone, they carry out the bodies of 3 AIDS victims each day. Some don't even know what disease they suffer from. We're lacking many things, says Dr. Musengela, the doctor in charge. We're in need of intravenous fluids, medicine, and antibiotics. We need syringes. We need everything. The hospital provides only the bed. For all else, sheets, water, food, and medicine, the patient must depend on his own family. The pharmacy on the hospital grounds does not stock any sophisticated medicines or experimental drugs, just antibiotics. 1 box costs a month's salary. Whole families sometimes test seropositive. Parents and children check into the hospital and sometimes die together. 6-year-old Oyola lost 2 of her brothers to AIDS. Doctors say her mother most probably died of AIDS, too. On the same day recently, Oyola and her father became the latest victims. Dr. Musengela says there are few people in the country who don't know someone, a relative or friend or acquaintance, who has died of AIDS. When the hospitals can't help, Zaire's AIDS victims turn elsewhere, to spiritualists and faith healers, who in some instances maybe off-duty doctors, nurses, and pharmacists from the hospitals. At churches popular with AIDS victims, there is testimony from those who claim to have been cured. Testimony which raises hope and raises money for those who claim they can help. But no one can, really. That's the way it is, says Dr. Musengela. It's discouraging. Discouraging. Jim Bitterman, ABC News.
Still ahead, a CTV focus report on asthma. Doctors are mystified by a surge in asthma attacks.
Overall, we don't know exactly why the prevalence seems to be increasing, but it is worldwide. New Zealand, Europe, Canada, the U.S.
Pollution and stress may be contributing to the problem.
Banking today is a lot more complex than it used to be. We have to get back to more personal relationships.
People like to feel like they matter when they deal with us.
Oh, well, I think the customers expect a friendly, smiling face when they come into the branch.
Technology is very nice, but they want the personal touch.
It's very rewarding for us at the Bank of Montreal to think that we've helped to improve the quality of their lives.
Bank of Montreal, we're paying attention.
I think the challenge always is there. It never ends.
Fathers are funny. The older they get, the more they mellow. They laugh about the things they once argued about. Fathers have a way of reminding you of the good times you had together when you were little. They never come right out and tell you they love you, but you know they do. And if you ever need them, they'll be there. Because when all is said and done, they are fathers.
Fathers. That's what NBTEL long distance is for.
May I ask what you're doing?
Training, Dad. When that warm, crisp Eggo waffle pops up, smile.
Well, you might have a little competition. I've been thinking about the taste of a golden brown Eggo all morning, and I'm pretty quick myself.
Dad, I got youth on my side.
Experience is what counts here. You see, when you really know what you...
Let me know how it turns out, guys.
Hey, let go my Eggo.
Nutritious Eggo waffles from Kellogg's. Tastes too good to let go.
A refresher course on ice. They say that ice is a girl's best friend. Of course, under some circumstances, ice is man's best friend. But things were different during the Ice Age. In those days, ice came in big chunks. That's when they coined the phrase, break the ice. Today, people are still breaking the ice, although some prefer melting the ice and enjoying the taste of a Labatt's Light right out of the ice. Now that's refreshing.
A mysterious spread of asthma is baffling medical researchers. More people are suffering from it, and more people are dying from it. All this in spite of advances in the treatment of asthma. The cause of the increase and the solutions to fight it are eluding doctors and scientists. In this report, George Wolfe focuses on the new asthma alarm.
Canadian doctors used to believe that asthma was a childhood disease, one that often ended in adolescence. But now, asthma is being blamed for more than 500 deaths in Canada every year. Here at the Hugh McMillan Rehabilitation Centre in Toronto, children are preparing for a lifelong battle with asthma. 8-year-old Melanie Davis began suffering terrifying nighttime asthma attacks a year and a half ago. Attacks that left her fighting for each breath.
Sometimes you get scared because you can't breathe very well and it seems like something's going to happen.
Okay. And how many of these do you take?
2.
Melanie's predicament is becoming more and more common. In spite of advances in medicine, doctors say the incidence of asthma is increasing steadily in the industrialized world.
Overall, we don't know exactly why the prevalence seems to be increasing, but it is worldwide. New Zealand, Europe, Canada, the U.S.
An asthma attack slowly suffocates its victim by tightening muscles around the airways, swelling the lining of air passages, and filling them with choking mucus.
It's scary because you're gasping for breath, and you're not sure that you're going to get your next breath.
Caroline Papadopoulos says her asthma is under control now, but 2 years ago she was rushed to hospital with an attack so severe she felt that she and the baby she was carrying would be killed.
That night I was afraid that I was compromising the baby, that if I wasn't able to breathe, the baby was certainly not able to breathe.
In, out, in, out, in, out, in.
In Canada, the incidence of life-threatening asthma has gone up 25% in the past 10 years. Doctors had diagnosed Jeremy Combe as a mild asthmatic, but 4 years ago, he suffered an attack that might have killed him if it hadn't been for his mother's training as a nurse. She found him gasping for breath in the shower.
And I started doing CPR and screaming at him, willing him to live. Don't you die on me, I kept saying. It was the most horrendous experience of my life, really, and only now can I talk about it without crying. It was pretty awful.
Every week now, 10 Canadians die of asthma. Susan Emmett of Kitchener was one of them. A partner in a catering business, she ignored signs that her breathing was getting worse as she struggled to help her partners cope with a Christmas rush. By the time her friends insisted she go to hospital, it was too late.
We never knew. I mean, you never think that 3 hours later she'd be dead. I think she wanted to do, what everybody else was doing, and she didn't want to give up any time at work. She really, she loved this place.
Let's go through your medication.
Doctors worry that new and powerful medicines may be a factor in cases like Susan Emmett's. New inhalers which contain steroids to reduce inflammation and dilators to relax tight muscles may work too well. They may be giving patients a false sense of security.
They're great for quick symptomatic relief, but some asthmatics come to rely on them and use them more and more and more, and that can mask asthma, which is getting out of control.
Dr. Yen Chua has lost 3 patients to asthma. She says education of patients and physicians is key to controlling the disease.
Patients tend to deny their condition, number one, and physicians tend to underdiagnose and to undertreat asthma.
Undertreatment or overtreatment, research into the causes of the outbreak seems to produce only conflicting answers. Some say it's indoor pollution, some say outdoor. Some doctors blame stress, others have blamed psychiatric disorders.
Would you like to see the pig's lungs?
One thing that everyone does agree on is education of the patient, helping patients to recognize and avoid the triggers which can touch off an asthma attack, teaching them what to do if the symptoms get out of control. For patients like Melanie, no one is offering a cure, just new methods and new medicines to help them cope with a disease that may last a lifetime. George Wolfe, CTV News.
Stay with us. When we return, East meets West. China welcomes American football and gives it a new name, Olive Ball.
Okay, so you get a game card with any Coca-Cola product at a Shoppers Drug Mart. We'll ask a baseball trivia question on every Blue Jays telecast from May 12th to June 16th. Choose the correct answer and call this number for a chance to win an All-Star jacket by Roots or a team pin set, and qualify to win an all-expense pay trip on Canadian Airlines to the Coca-Cola All-Star Fan Fest in Toronto with tickets to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game on July the 9th. Get details at a participating store. Can I get a Coke, do you think? This is a Coke commercial, isn't it?
Folks who come to BBG's Groceries in Kincolith, British Columbia, know there are at least 2 things they can count on: a warm smile and a Canon copier that won't let them down. And because you can only get to Kincolith by sea or air, reliability is just as important here in the wilderness as it is here in the jungle. Canon copiers, from Bay Street to your street.
You always hurt the one you love.
People have a love-hate relationship with their cars. They love them, but they don't always treat them right. And like all Subarus, the new Legacy Turbo was built to take a lot of loving, which is one very good reason the automobile journalists voted Subaru Family Sedan of the Year again.
Any way you look at it, the world is hard on your eyes. No wonder so many people have eyes for Visine. Soothing relief in a single drop. Visine gets the red out and brings on the relief.
It has been clinically proven that rinsing with plaques before brushing actually helps loosen and remove plaque. So if you want to fight plaque, rinse with plaques, then get brushing. Plaques, the only pre-brushing plaque-fighting rinse.
Tiananmen Square has been the scene of countless political ballys, huge military displays, and just 2 years ago, a terrible massacre. Tonight, a story about a much happier and very unusual event in the square. 2 college football teams from the United States are in China for a series of exhibition games, the first ever played in the country. And as CTV's Jim Munson reports, they found Tiananmen Square a perfect spot to practice.
Under the gaze of the late Chairman Mao and surrounded by bemused Chinese, college football players from the United States work out on a hot summer afternoon. It seems Tiananmen Square was the only space big enough in Beijing to hold a light scrimmage before the big game. The 2 small college teams, Pacific Lutheran and Evangel, are guests of the China International Sports Travel Company. For some of the players, it was all just a bit too much to handle.
It's kind of like being at Disneyland. It's like a ride. It's not really real, it seems like. Like we're here and they're somewhere else.
But this exhibition tour of 3 Chinese cities is supposed to be all about friendship. That's something Pacific Lutheran coach Frosty Westering understands.
It's just great to be here and show the American game of football.
The People's Workers Stadium. 60,000 Chinese have come to watch what they call olive ball because of the football's shape.
I hope someday I can go to America to see football match.
The game is not totally alien to the Chinese. Some have seen excerpts of the Super Bowl on state-run television. But somebody forgot to tell the police that people are allowed to cheer at football games. Eventually, they gave up as the Chinese fans attempted an Oriental version of the wave. Even Chinese photographers felt the impact of the game. He wasn't seriously hurt. On the field, the 2 teams did everything football squads are supposed to do: run, pass, and the odd interception. The Chinese seemed to like every minute of it. For the record, Pacific Lutheran won the game. Jim Munson, CTV News, Beijing.
And finally tonight, a dramatic rescue this weekend has given a new meaning to the expression coming in on a wing and a prayer. The rescue involved a stuntman who went for a walk on the wing of a plane. He ended up walking into serious trouble. Stuntman Lee Oman slipped from the wing of a small stunt plane. He was left dangling from a stainless steel safety cable for 20 minutes. Then the plane descended and slowed to the same speed as 2 trucks beneath it, 120 kilometers an hour.
I grabbed him and jerked him in. These guys pulled him down, and you're hanging on to him, trying to cut the cord.
The guy hit the cable with the knife first, and he had to get down into the nylon to cut it. It took about 3 or 4 whacks to do it. In the meantime, we were all going right over to cab at the truck.
At first, Oman says he didn't understand the rescue plan.
Leaning out the cockpit and saying, you know, just pointing like, truck. I was like, oh, yeah, oh, I got it now. He's going to try to stick me in the truck. And don't drag me on the ground. I don't have roller skates.
Lee Oman suffered minor burns from the safety harness. He says he plans to perform the same wing walking routine again, but not quite in the same way. That's the news tonight. Tomorrow on Canada AM, fear of flying and how you can cure it. Not a problem for Lee Oman. Here are some of the stories CTV News will be following tomorrow. The full cabinets of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI meet in Moncton tomorrow to consider maritime economic union. The annual AIDS conference continues in Florence, Italy, and landmark peace talks get underway in Northern Ireland. Lloyd Robertson will be here tomorrow night. I'm Peter Murphy. For all of us at CTV News, good night.
This is CTV.
The Pilot Project, Monday at 7:30 on ATV.
from Atlantic Canada's #1 news team, the ATV Late News.
Good evening, everyone. The town of Bathurst in northern New Brunswick woke up to the shocking news of a double murder this morning. Details are still sketchy, but we do know that police discovered the bodies of a man and a woman at the Sportsman Tavern at 1:45 this morning. Both victims had been attacked with a knife, and the woman, who investigators say was a waitress at the tavern, was stabbed several times. The male victim has been identified as a patron of the bar. Police have an East Bathurst man in custody who will appear in court on Monday morning. Authorities, though, won't say if robbery was the motive, but the bar owner says money is missing. 2 blocks in the downtown area and the suspect's home were cordoned off today. So far, no names have been released. In other news, New Brunswick Tories elected a new leader yesterday. Former MP Dennis Cochrane defeated Mayor Bev Lawrence of St. Stephen by nearly 800 votes. Now, it appears the new leader isn't spending time celebrating. Today, he held his first news conference. George Butters has more.
Dennis Cochrane easily defeated his lone opponent, 955 votes to just 116, at Sunday's one-day leadership convention. The once powerful Tories have hit rock bottom under the previous leader, Barbara Baird-Filleter. They've lost popularity, they have no money, and they haven't a single seat in the provincial legislature. Cochrane moved into party headquarters Sunday to start the rebuilding process. He says he plans to run in the riding of Petitcodiac near Moncton, a former Tory seat snatched by rookie backbencher Hollis Steeves in the 1987 Liberal sweep. Cochrane told reporters today he's aiming for the Premier's job. He says the civil service is too big, but calls the Liberal wage freeze dishonest. Cochrane says he's fiscally responsible, but doesn't rule out adding to the deficit.
There may be a time. I'm not a big fan of deficit financing, and I can't imagine trying to bring in a budget that wouldn't be balanced. But occasionally you have to look at the economic situation. I think you've got to be conscious of the ability of the taxpayer to pay.
The Liberals blame their money problems on the Mulroney government.
I think so.
Cochrane says that's not entirely fair, but he says his job isn't to defend the federal Tories.
Hey, did you not notice the battle I took on yesterday? Do you not think I have a big enough challenge before me?
In Fredericton, George Butters, ATV News.
The man convicted of murdering a New Brunswick highway patrolman 4 years ago will get his new day in court tomorrow. Anthony Romeo has been appealing since the New Brunswick court convicted him of the brutal shooting of patrolman Manny Acoyan. He was sentenced to 25 years in jail without a chance for parole. Earlier this year, though, the Supreme Court of Canada threw out that conviction. Romeo's new trial begins tomorrow and is expected to last for about 2 weeks. Part of the NATO fleet arrived in Halifax Harbor today at the end of Atlantic exercise. HMC ships Ottawa, Skeena, and Protector, accompanied by several American naval ships and 4 merchant vessels, steamed into port at sunrise. Exercise Ocean Safari 91 also saw Canadian Aurora, CF-18, and Challenger aircraft taking part last week near Bermuda. Ships and aircraft from 11 NATO countries on both sides of the Atlantic participated, and it focused on the protection of the sea lines of communications between Canada, the U.S., and Europe. The NATO vessels that arrived in Halifax today should be in port until midweek. A problem with the buoyancy valves has left Canada's Navy without any working submarines. The Onondaga and the Ojibwa will be out of service until technicians can assure the safety of the valves. The other submarine, the Okanagan, is going into refit. Canada's Naval Chief, Vice Admiral Robert George, says that without submarines, Canada could lose the right to say who can move in its underwater territory. Well, many Canadians are wondering if the days are numbered for the Canadians' armed forces. Budget restraints are forcing severe cutbacks on the military. However, despite dire predictions for the future, some analysts say a more streamlined Canadian military does make sense. John Waterman reports.
Canada's military played a major role in the recent Persian Gulf War, and many of the military's top brass thought they'd be rewarded with more defense spending. However, that's not the case. Hundreds of millions of dollars in defense spending is being cut through abandonment of plans for a nuclear submarine program, less high-tech equipment for the Navy, Army, and Air Force, and of course the closure of many of the country's bases. Dalhousie University defense analyst Dan Middlemas says it's a difficult pill for the military brass to swallow, but there's no other choice.
the political and economic realities, we have to save a buck here and a buck there. So the military has to, along with the rest of the departments of the federal government, take some of the pain.
What will Canada's military be like within 5 years? There will be new frigates joining the older tribal-class destroyers for fisheries patrol and protecting the 200-mile offshore limit. There will be CF-18s. Auroras will be doing coastal patrol. And there will be fewer bases. There will be greater reliance on the United States in the event of trouble.
And a lot of nationalists who were opposed to Canada, NATO, and things like that are saying, hold on, it's better to be in bed with 15 countries than it is, you know, to be all by yourself in North America. And I think that realization has yet to come home to a lot of Canadians.
These are frustrating times for Canada's military, but as has so often been the case, in times of peace and tranquility on the world stage, the military becomes an easy target for saving money.
Whether we can at the same time maintain some sort of minimally effective cadre of armed forces that can be flexible enough to respond to things like an Oka crisis or more Oka crises, as well as the Persian Gulf, do our peacekeeping, and of course keep some residual capability for taking care of our own backyard is another matter. I think that's what the Defense Review is having a hard time focusing on.
In Halifax, John Waterman, ATV News.
Efforts are underway to find a 32-year-old St. John man who fell overboard his 38-foot pleasure craft while boating on the St. John River early this morning. As Laverne Stewart reports, police, ground search, and rescue teams, along with air and water patrols, combed the area today, hoping to find the man alive.
The Sea Reed set out from its moorings around 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, heading up the St. John River. Police say the mishap occurred around 2 a.m. as a group of 6 on board were making their way back to St. John. The missing man, 32-year-old Kevin Burley Griffin, owns the 38-foot converted fishing vessel from which he fell somewhere in this area. A Halifax search and rescue helicopter has been surveying the river and its banks for any sign of the missing man. An RCMP patrol boat is taking a closer look from the water, and the River Valley Ground Search and Rescue team spent part of the day climbing over nearby cliffs and going through the brush. So far, all that's been found by the searchers is Griffin's hat. St. John police, in charge of the search operation, say they believe the mishap was accidental. After speaking with some of the 5 other people who were on board the vessel at the time, police say there was light drinking taking place before the mishap, but Griffin had not been drinking at all. There's a strong current in this water, but police say because it's been warm, it's possible a person could remain in it for a long time and maybe make it back to shore. For now, the search continues. In St. John, Laverne Stewart, ATV News.
250 laid-off clam processors and their supporters staged a rally in Alls Cove, Nova Scotia today. The workers say they want the province to join forces with the owners of the Nova Scotia Clam Company and get the plant reopened. Vance Jessam gives us a look at today's demonstration.
Workers from the Nova Scotia Clam Company say they want their jobs back. They are asking the provincial and federal governments to help fund the reopening of the clam processing plant, but say they do not want handouts.
I mean, we all come out here to go to work every day, and we're all like a big family, and we try to work together and put this plant back on its feet and get back to work as soon as possible.
The clam plant, located just on the Nova Scotia side of the Canso Causeway, is the second largest employer in the area. It closed last month when its clam harvesting ship was arrested after the company continued to increase its debt load. It will take more than $3 million to get this plant back in business. Government and management representatives attending this rally agree it will be money well spent. What they can't agree on is how much each should pay.
They don't want us to pour a few $1 million in here. 3 months down the road, they haven't got jobs again. They want a real commitment for long-term jobs, and that'll only come if those who are going to make the money on the plant are willing to put their money up, too.
Company owners feel they have already shown a strong commitment.
There is a limit to the amount of money, further money that the shareholders will invest in the company.
Plant workers say it is essential for government and the company's owners to settle their differences immediately. They are afraid of the permanent damage a prolonged closure may cause.
It's critical that we get it done now because the market that the company has is not going to hang around forever. Other companies fish clams, and the Japanese will eventually go to these other companies if this company doesn't get back into the marketplace.
The organizers of the rally say they want to keep the issue in the public eye until a deal is signed and the plant is reopened. The workers were told here that deal may be one step closer next week when company owners meet with Nova Scotia's industry minister in Halifax. In Alts Cove, Nova Scotia, Ponce Jessom, ATV News.
Well, today a stunt walker from, a stunt man, that is, from Oregon is breathing a little easier. Yesterday he took a walk on the wild side, a walk that almost cost him his life. Lars Larson shows us the stunt man's breathtaking rescue.
Stuntman Lee Oman climbed on board the wing of a biplane at Hillsborough Airport, not knowing that his act would include an unexpected, unplanned, and life-threatening new element. The promise of daring aerobatic feats brought thousands of people out for the Portland Rose Festival Air Show, but the crowd got more than it expected. Shortly after the plane took off, the wing walker fell, his life saved by the safety strap attached to an arm. Pilot Jim Franklin tried unsuccessfully to get Oman back into the plane. Airshow officials rejected the idea of a mid-air rescue using another plane and settled on a ground rescue using 2 trucks.
Michael, let's hurry as much as we can.
The trucks raced down the runway at about 70 miles an hour. The man in the Suburban directed the pilot, while those in the pickup truck got ready to make the catch.
Lower, Jim. Lower, 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 lower. 30! Yeah, they got him. We got him. He's in the truck. He's in the truck. Yeah.
A few minutes later, 23-year veteran pilot Jim Franklin landed.
We were in just a little bit of a sprinkle, and the bar got wet. Maybe he slipped. I don't know. I haven't talked to him yet, but yeah, that's stunt work. You always have yourself a back door. And the safety cable is the reason it's there, you know, because we'll go back and we'll do it again.
Oh, just got a good bump, and that's what the safety cable's for. Miller time. That's you. Oh, no kidding. Need a new suit now.
The airshow guide says Franklin and Oman performed death-defying maneuvers at over 180 miles an hour. Today's events gave new meaning to those words. In Portland for CNN, this is Lars Larson reporting.
That's all the news we have for right now, but when we come back, a wrap-up of weekend sports.
Here's a great idea for those hot summer days when you feel like having a refreshing meal. A Swiss chalet quarter chicken with fresh salad. A perfect summer combination. Very tasty. Now, to reach every bit of that tender chicken, I'll probably use my fingers. But the salad? Maybe that's what these are for.
Quarter chicken with fresh salad and breadsticks, just $4.85 until June 26th.
You only get out of life what you put into it. It took me years to work that one out. And it's changed how I feel about me, how I live, what I believe, even the way I exercise and eat. And when I eat margarine, it's Fleischmann's.
Fleischmann's corn oil margarine. Make it part of your life.
When you change yourself, you change everything.
They've disappeared as they continue to disappear. It's Trailer World's disappearance sale on used RVs. Trailer World is overstocked, and they've lowered prices so much that everything is disappearing. Travel trailers, motorhomes, and fifth-wheel trailers vanishing into thin air. No reasonable offer will be refused. Get in now before they're all gone and disappear down the road in your own RV from Trailer World on the Trans-Canada Highway, Fredericton.
The Shediac Lobster Festival presents the world-famous RCMP musical ride at the Parley Beach Concert Field on July 14th. 2 shows, one at 2:30 and another at 7, will feature 32 riders in full uniform. Donnie and the Monarchs will open the concert. Tickets are limited and must be purchased in advance at all Jean Coutu stores in Moncton, Dieppe, and Shediac. Tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for children. The RCMP Musical Ride, July 14th in Shediac, New Brunswick.
Well, Payne Stewart and Scott Simpson packed all the drama into the last 3 holes of the 91st U.S. Open today, but they couldn't reach a decision. So with a tie after regulation, they'll return to Hazeltine tomorrow for an 18-hole playoff. Ideal weather today for the leaders, unlike yesterday when high winds affected play. Stewart and Simpson entered the day tied at 600, 4 shots ahead of Scott Hoke and Nick Price. Payne Stewart is the first one to do some damage. 3rd hole, par 5, 3rd shot, just a wedge to the green. He puts it close, spins it back for an easy birdie, his first of the day. But Scott Simpson was not to be outdone. He comes back on the next hole with a 30-footer from the fringe for par. He drains it to stay within 1 stroke of the leader, Stewart. But it doesn't take him long to take the lead himself. Stewart misses his par attempt on the 6th, takes a bogey, and has to settle for a par on 7. Simpson then sinks that 15-footer for his first birdie and the lead. Although there weren't too many spectacular shots in the day, Fuzzy Zeller on 18, out of contention with a chance to get deeper into the money, holds this one and gets a big ovation. Back to the leader, Simpson increases his lead on the 10th with this beautiful approach shot to the green. The ball will spin and then suck back down to the hole. That will set up an easy birdie, and it'll leave him at -8, 2 strokes ahead at one point of Payne Stewart. But it would all come down to the last hole. Simpson up by just a stroke now. He put his drive into the rough and had to settle for a bogey when all he could do was wedge out to the middle of the fairway, then chip up and 2-putt. Stewart would make par, and the 2 men will have to meet again tomorrow for another 18 holes of golf to determine who will be the 91st U.S. Open champion. Now to the major leagues of baseball. All eyes were focused on Cleveland today, where the Indians were hoping to stop the Minnesota Twins winning streak at 14 games. So the Tri-Brass offered up neon caps for the fans to help more show up and help the home side flex a little muscle. But it was the Twins' Kirby Puckett who shows the muscle. Trailing 1-0 in the top of the 6th, Puckett takes Greg Swindells deep into the right field seats, and he will put Minnesota into a 1-all tie with the Tribe. Well, this game goes into extra innings, and the Twins pull ahead in the 10th. Brian Harper bangs out a single to score Puckett from second. 1 more is added, and the Twins will take a 4-2 lead. Now to the bottom of the 10th, Felix Fermin is the Indians' last hope, but he grounds to third. The throw is on the money, and the Twins have now won 15 in a row. Let's go to Toronto, and of course it was Father's Day, and what better way to spend it than with your sons, as Ernie Wood did with his 2 boys looking on. Second inning tied at 3, and Cal Ripken Jr. turns on a David Wells fastball. That is gone. Brother Billy aboard. It's a 2-run shot, and the Orioles lead 5-3. Third inning now, Jays trail 7-3. It's Toronto's turn to go downtown. Joe Carter parks this one into the left field cheap seat. A 3-run shot. Jays trail by just 1, 7-6. But the Orioles would win the battle of the long ball. 7th inning, pinch hitter Joe Orsulak slams a grand slam off Dwayne Ward. That breaks the back, and the Birds would rally for 5 in the 7th and beat the Blue Jays 13-8. On to Fenway now, where the Red Sox were at home to the Angels, scoreless in the 5th when Wade Boggs lashes a 2-out, bases loaded single to right center. 2 runs coming to score, and it's 2-0 for Boston. Angels now trying to rally in the 8th with 1 man on and none out. Tom Bolton grabs this bouncer. He will go to Louis Rivera for the force at second and relay to Quintana the stretch for the double play. Red Sox going to beat the Angels 2-0, take a half-game lead in the AL East. Over in the National League, the Expos were trying to sweep the Braves at a cold Olympic Stadium. Braves open the scoring. Ron Gant will single in the 1st. With this base hit, Otis Nixon will score to give the Braves an early lead. In fact, Atlanta would build a 4-0 lead before the Expos would get going in this one, and the comeback started in the 5th, 2-out when Tim Wallach hits a grounder. Nice stop by Belliar. He makes the throw to first, but it's dropped by Brian Hunter. 2 Expos will score, and the game is tied. Let's move to the 6th now. Delano DeShields is up. He rips the ball to the left. Lonnie Smith will charge it, but he cannot handle it. 2 more Expos will score as Montreal pulls out a 7-5 win. Around the rest of the league today, in the National League, Houston edged New York 5-4 with Cincinnati over Philadelphia 8-6. San Diego over Chicago 4-2. L.A. over St. Louis 7-2. In the 8th inning, Pittsburgh leading San Francisco 4-1. In the American League, it was Kansas City over Chicago 9-4. Milwaukee pounded out a win over Oakland 11-7. Detroit beat Seattle 7-3. One night game, and that has New York leading Texas 2-1. Well, the Canadian Soccer League season is 4 weeks old, and still the league's newest franchise, the Clippers from Nova Scotia, are still unbeaten with 3 wins and 2 ties. The Clippers were hoping to improve upon that mark when they hosted the winless North York Rockets today. Rockets on the attack in the first half. Some nice passing sends Mark Grabowski through. but he will be tripped up by a Nova Scotia defender. A foul is called. Grabowski will make no mistake on the penalty shot, beating Shell Broskar to the left corner. North York leads 1-0. Still in the first half, Clippers pressing. Neil Sedgwick with a lovely cross into the box. The header bounces off the bar, but it is whistled down as being offside. Second half now, Clippers again on the attack. The long ball comes forward to George Kirkiakos. He gets control, then does the bicycle kick, hitting a looping shot over the outstretched arm from the North York keeper. That ties the score at 1, and that's the way it ended. The Clippers remain unbeaten at 3 wins and 3 ties. Still in sports, the Scottish national boxing team invaded Inverness, Cape Breton last night. It was the second card in 3 nights for the Scots, who were in Halifax on Thursday. The Cape Breton village, with a strong Gaelic heritage, was the site for fights including 4 matches between Canada's national squad and the Scots. Glenn Robart of Halifax won on a split decision over Brian Carr of Scotland. Robart had the edge, overpowering his opponent. Scotland's Wilson Doherty won a unanimous decision over Canada's Marvin Tyler in another 3-round bout. Both fighters showed aggression, but the Scottish battlers pulled away in the last round. Glace Bay favorite Harry Reid, fighting in the 63.5 kilo class, lost a split decision to Scotland's national champ Jim Pender. Reid, with a classic stand-up style, attacked Pender's body on numerous occasions, but the Scots scored with several jabs in each round. The card's main event featured world senior light heavyweight silver medalist Stephen Wilson of Scotland and world intermediate gold medalist John Guthrow of Glace Bay. The first round appeared even, but Wilson's greater level of experience gradually took over. In rounds 2 and 3, the Scots scored with stiff punches and jabs, taking advantage of a tired Guthrow. Wilson won by unanimous decision. And that is ATV Sports. We'll be right back.
Swiss Chalet brings back the perfect summer meal. Only 450 calories, and for a limited time, only $4.85.
Here's a great idea for those hot summer days when you feel like having a refreshing meal. A Swiss Chalet quarter chicken with fresh salad. A perfect summer combination. Very tasty. Now, to reach every bit of that tender chicken, I'll probably use my fingers. But the salad, maybe that's what these are for.
Quarter chicken with fresh salad and breadsticks, just $4.85 until June 26th.
It's the bottom of the ninth, and the game is on the line.
Rusty sure got his game face on, Bob.
Sure does, Pete. And here's the pitch.
No, wait, he's backing out.
Holy smokes, that's a Coca-Cola Classic.
He must have heard about the Coca-Cola Classic Major League Baseball pin promotion. It's at Shoppers Drug Mart. Buy any Coca-Cola product at Shoppers and get an American League Baseball pin for just 99 cents. 3 new pins every week, and 15 in total, like the Jays or the Red Sox.
Sure. Baseball pins at Shoppers. It's a hit.
Bet you never thought we'd do La Jingle or Labatt Dry.
Colonial Inns offer you old-fashioned hospitality.
Hi, I'm Linda Doyle, and each week we have a manager's reception in both Moncton and St. John, which will give you the opportunity to meet and greet your fellow travelers.
At the Colonial Inn St. John and Moncton, we offer each weekday morning to our fellow travelers a complimentary coffee and muffin, which we will deliver to your room if you desire.
Enjoy our comfortable rooms with free movies nightly. We offer live entertainment in the Cave Lounge and 24-hour restaurant and room service. Colonial Inns, Moncton and St. John.
The man you're about to see in this next story is the best there is when it comes to his specialty. He's a retired school teacher, but now spends his time entertaining both young and old. Lucky Severson has more.
When Bill Gannett was a young man about 50 years ago, he determined that he was going to do one thing better than anyone else in the world.
Yeah, this act is a hard damn act.
His father worked in a hardware store, so it's not unreasonable that Bill Gannett wanted to get his hands on everything in the store.
I knew the entire history of juggling, and no one had ever done hardware tools per se.
Ladies and gentlemen,
bowling ball, chainsaw, pitchfork.
The foremost tool and heavy object juggler in the world.
No way, Bill. It's impossible. Don't do it. I've never been hurt. I've had some slight nicks. I've never had an injury where I've had to have stitches.
Here's a man whose hands shake even when he does a card trick.
I don't have any neurological disease, you know. At least none that's been diagnosed.
Juggling 3 objects that each weighs the same is one thing, but even the greatest juggler of all time, Enrico Rostelli, never juggled 2 bowling balls and 1 pitchfork. And no one has ever juggled 3 pitchforks.
Some people might even say you're a little crazy.
Well, they may be right. Now, one of the hardest of all with these. That one.
The retired school teacher might be a famous millionaire if he had been born 50 years earlier when vaudeville was still around. Instead, he makes less than $10,000 a year at frat parties and birthday gigs. And for some reason, Sears or Skill have never hired him to pitch their saws and knives.
Everyone's worried about liability.
I can understand that.
Well, stuff like this, you got to make sure and turn it a full turn. If you turn it half a turn, you're in trouble.
Bill Gannett is now 64 years old, still fighting pathology, physiology, and gravity. Still perfecting the one thing he can do better than anyone else in the world. Lucky Severson, NBC News, Salt Lake City.
Let's turn to weather now, and I can tell you that a ridge of high pressure over the region today made for a sunny day with seasonable temperatures. There is a disturbance, though, that is pushing cloud into the western half of the Maritimes. And before dawn, likely some showers in southwestern New Brunswick and southern Nova Scotia. This feature will pass by to the south of the area tomorrow, allowing the high pressure once again to take hold to make for a sunny Tuesday. As far as the last couple of days of spring, it looks generally unsettled with some sun, some cloud, and the chance of showers for both Wednesday and Thursday. Tonight, then, it will be mainly clear, except in the western communities where the cloud cover will increase, and there is the chance of a shower before dawn in those western communities. Fog will also develop along the Fundy coast and the Atlantic coast of southern Nova Scotia as temperatures fall to the range of 7 to 9 degrees. Tomorrow, it will become cloudy over the remainder of the region, except for Prince Edward Island, and in the morning there is a chance of a shower over the western half of Nova Scotia. Afternoon temperatures tomorrow will be in the range of 17 to 23. The outlook for Tuesday calls for a continuation of the sunshine, while Wednesday and Thursday will be partly cloudy with the chance of showers. And that is our report for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.
Make a face. Take a powder. But don't take any lips. Open your eyes. Step out from the shadows and be a sleeping beauty. Wake up and smell the roses. Then spread.
More fruity, Rudy Tooty. More fruity, Rudy Tooty. More fruity. Post Fruit and Fiber's got more fruit. New Post Fruit and Fiber cereal. Tastes so fruity, you forget the fiber.
Hey guys, I'm heading to the cab. Am I gonna get you anything?
Spare me.
Get some beers with me, Greg.
Yeah, get some chips. We'll wait here.
What's taking him so long?
Incoming. Finally.
Labatt's Blue.
Whose turn is it to clean the cabin? Mine. Perfect.
Now you're laughing.
If the 70s belonged to Toyota and Honda owned the 80s, the 90s will belong to Nissan. Already this decade, Nissan has won more awards than any other car company. Ta-da! If this new sticker doesn't convince you to buy a Nissan Maxima, maybe this new sticker will.
Shredded Wheat. He's 100 feet tall, and he lives in this great big house, and he eats this great big cereal. Does not. Does so. Does not, Tommy. Does so. Does not.
Tom, remember when you used to think that Mr. Shredded Wheat was a giant?
Over 100 feet tall.
Yeah, that was silly.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe you ever...
Actually, it was Mrs. Shredded Wheat. She is the giant. She's a real giant. Really
That's
tall.
ridiculous.
It is not.
It's so.
It is
The
not.
100% whole wheat goodness of Nabisco Shredded Wheat Big Biscuit.
Greetings. Marketing surveys prove allergies are annoying. This annoyometer symbolizes how Claritin provides effective relief from annoying allergy symptoms. Note the soothing photograph "what" on the box. And Claritin won't make you drowsy. Allergy symptoms are nothing to sneeze at. So try effective Claritin. Okay, cut. Cut.
Keep that shower fresh feeling with new Ban Ultra Solid, our widest and driest ever. Now, Ban Ultra Solid glides on extra wide for our widest coverage. New Ban Ultra Solid, our widest and driest ever.
Keep that shower fresh feeling all day.
Presenting this week's great news from Sears. Starring our best-selling weather beater deck and siding stain. Your choice now half price at Sears, where you get your money's worth and more.
Glide through the skies, Monday at 7:30 with the Pilot Project.
I've always dreamed of flying.
Explore the world of aviation at the Atlantic Region Gliding School in DeBert, Nova Scotia.
Very simple, just one person, glider, no engine, a couple rudder pedals and a stick.
Air cadets from across the Maritimes get their wings.
I'm excited. Oh boy, am I ever. I can't wait to go flying.
The Pilot Project, Monday at 7:30 on ATV.
Presenting this week's great news from Sears. Starring our best-selling weather beater deck and siding stain. Your choice now half price at Sears, where you get your money's worth and more.
Hi. You're so cute.
Want a Coca-Cola?
Uh-huh.
Flying, a good idea, but had to be done right to get off the ground. The commuter train, good idea, but it needed work to get on track. The iron, good idea, but needed help to get the wrinkles out. The liquid dishwasher detergent, also a good idea, but it needed the gel to get it all out of the bottle. New Palmolive gel is rich and fixed, so it's easy to pour with no waste. It all works to get your dishes sparkling clean and virtually spotless. Try new Palmolive gel.
Come out of the wet into a world that's more than dry. It's extra dry. Arid extra dry. Antiperspirant for men.
Sometimes it's easy to get carried away. Until suddenly you find yourself out of control. So before things go too far, use Trojan condoms to help reduce the risk.
Some clubs just exude quality, longevity, and precision. Well, the Sears Club is no different, because every time you use your Sears card, you collect points that can be redeemed for almost anything in the store or catalog, where you'll find some real quality, longevity, and precision. Welcome to the club.
The special edition Civic Sedan, with so many extra features as standard equipment. Now you can fall in love. without paying the price.
Just one in the special edition series. Now available at your Honda dealer.
New Sure and Natural Prima has finally unraveled the mystery of how to give you maxi protection. Maxi protection in a pad that's so thin it's close to nothing. You see, only Sure and Natural Prima has this unique shape, tailored to fit like nothing else. Only Sure and Natural Prima has this unique core that absorbs like nothing before. New Sure and Natural Prima, because it's close to nothing.
Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't blame me, Chief. I was just walking my canine here. I see this kid. He's gulping down a can of Orange Crush. I says, whoa, Sonny, that is some powerful orange taste you're packing away there. Maybe you ought to take it slow. But kids these days, they're cocky. He says if I can handle it, he can handle it. I do believe he stands corrected.
Crush. Taste buds, fasten your seatbelts.
When you're looking for something new, we've got a special frame for you.
Choose your new eyeglasses from our big selection at Vogue Optical. Then, choose your second pair, absolutely free.
Vogue Optical, your second pair is free. Vogue Optical, your second pair is free. Vogue Optical. Special touch of paradise. All I do is look into your eyes. For that special touch of paradise. Oh,
Crystal Palace. Explore, experience, enjoy the all-new Crystal Palace Science Center opening June 15th. Come learn about perception, space, biology, and sound through 29 exciting hands-on exhibits. The Crystal Palace Science Center combining education and entertainment. You won't believe science could be this much fun. Opening June 15th.
Share a fantasy at Crystal Palace.
Rich, buttery shortcake, delectable chips of pure chocolate, fruit jelly, and vanilla cream. Surely these are the peaks of perfection.
Banking today is a lot more complex than it used to be.
We have to get back to more personal relationships.
People like to feel like they matter when they deal with us.
Oh, well, I think the customers expect a friendly, smiling face when they come into the branch.
Technology is very nice, but they want the personal touch.
It's very rewarding for us at the Bank of Montreal to think that we've helped to improve the quality of their life.
Bank of Montreal, we're paying attention.
I think the challenge always is there. It never ends.
Announcing something special for your baby. Loves with Oxford stripes for boys and pink rosebuds for girls. So don't just put an ordinary diaper on your baby. Wrap your baby in Loves.
There is a fabric softener that's as soft as can be. Downy.
Touch it, feel it, it's soft as can be.
Feel the difference. See the difference. Downy gives you luxurious softness. Your family will love it.
Soft as can be.
Downy Sun Rinse Fresh. And April Fresh, too. Also available in EnviroPack.
If the 70s belonged to Toyota and Honda owned the 80s, the 90s will belong to Nissan. Already this decade, Nissan has won more awards than any other car company. Ta-da! The Nissan Stanza offers enough sensible features to make you feel like a responsible family person. And one feature to make you feel like you're still single.
You know it's got to be an extra special birthday when the cake is 75 years old. As pure today as the day it was first born.
Celebrate by picking up the Ivory Heritage Pack.
When I head for the showers, there's only one shampoo and conditioner I take. Pert Plus. Sure, I've tried some other two-in-ones, but with Pert Plus, I get better lather. And to me, that means hair that's really clean. So Pert Plus beats them hands down. And these other two-in-ones, there's no question Pert Plus conditions better. Pert Plus beats them hands down. Look, why settle for anything less when I get cleaning and conditioning like this with Pert Plus? The winning combination for great-looking hair.
When you think of a peak-free fruit cream, shortcake, delectable, digestive, nice, or assorted creams, surely there's one to pique your interest.
Heard what's happening? McDonald's prices. An original hamburger, just 69 cents. The cheeseburger, 79 cents. And a sausage McMuffin, just 89 cents. Priced for today? This is McDonald's today. Great value all day.
You won't believe it. Me and Barbara were out fishing. There was a bump on the line. We reeled it up. It was one sorry-looking Coleman lantern. There was even a crab living in it. But just for fun, I cleaned it up and gave it a try. You know what? The thing lit up on the first match. You've got to be kidding.
Coleman builds a lot more than just great lanterns, and we build it all unbelievably tough.
Somebody's going to see this on TV and say, hey, that's my lantern. Not anymore.
Duramac new shampoo. I've got Duramac bounce back beautiful hair. Duramac bounce back beautiful hair.
Your hair can't be this beautiful unless it's strong. Duramax's new shampoos and conditioners bring new strength to your hair. Strength to bounce back beautiful.
I've got Duramac bounce back beautiful hair. Duramac bounce back beautiful hair.
How do I know which coffee to get?
Just look for Juan Valdez.
Right.
Buenos dias.
I just saw Juan Valdez.
Of course. He's on every pack of Colombian coffee. When you see him, you know you're getting the richest coffee in the world.
Oh.
If you want 100% Colombian coffee, just look for Juan Valdez. You can't miss him.
The new Sonoma 4x4 features shift-on-the-fly four-wheel drive. Now you can get easy driving, even in driving rain. The 1991 Sonoma compact pickup from GMC Truck. Drive the 1991 S15 Jimmy with a towing capacity of up to 5,500 pounds. One fun ride leads to another. The 1991 S15 Jimmy from GMC Truck.
Tomorrow night. The only deal they can offer him is freedom to get me.
Who gave you the right to run the world?
I'm sorry if I failed you.
I want to know what you told them and where they've gone. You two are unique.
I have reason to believe Romulus and Remus are being set up by Elliot.
How much can life change because of a pregnancy test? Find out Tuesday on Roseanne. And the students of Fillmore have high hopes as they prepare for graduation on Head of the Class. Also on Tuesday, it's legal chaos when the circumstances around a subway shooting become unclear. On Law and Order. Tuesday on CTV.
sedan. We took a good idea and built on it. Introducing the Accord wagon from Honda.
Say cheese.
Say Fuji.
Say cheese.
Say Fuji. Say Fuji. 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 Save $5 on famous players' movie tickets when you buy 2 rolls of Fuji film. Get more details about this great deal on specially marked Fuji packs. Fuji. 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 Grab the excitement.
Fathers are funny. The older they get, the more they mellow. They laugh about the things they once argued about. Fathers have a way of reminding you of the good times you had together when you were little. They never come right out and tell you they love you, but you know they do. And if you ever need them, they'll be there. Because when all is said and done, they are fathers.
Father. That's what NBTEL long distance is for.
Sometimes grown-ups touch kids in ways they don't like.
I was wrestling with my uncle, and it changed. It felt icky.
When touching feels funny, it's hard to know what to do.
He said I shouldn't tell anyone.
If that ever happens to you, say no. No. Then go.
No.
And tell someone you trust.
Tell.
Say no. Then go. And tell.
This message is brought to you as a public service by the Doctors of Canada.
Effective parenting, table manners. The proper usage of eating utensils is fundamental. Conversation should be encouraged.
Hello, Jello.
Serving etiquette is equally important. Children should clean their plates, ignore occasional blunders, and never play with their food. Jello Gelatin, it's what being a kid is all about. Next lesson, black tie dining.
You get a lot more in a Ford Tempo and Mercury Topaz, like child-proof locks and an airbag. Both can save lives, yet neither is available on Cavalier. Raise any concerns? You get a lot more in Tempo and Topaz. You know, you get a lot more in a Ford Tempo and Mercury Topaz. In fact, right now, for a limited time, you can get even more. Bottom line, you get a lot more in Tempo and Topaz.